Welcome guys to this multiplayer battle on Derelict Mansion. This is some of the cool stuff that we're going to start to see coming out of this game. Man, I am excited for this custom map maker. It is yielding some really cool stuff. So the map, I want to show you this real briefly. It has a mansion in the center with a hill around the side and kind of paths in all directions leading up to it. So this is going to be myself and Indy Pride's army, a huge combined force of Chaos and the Beastmen, and then meanwhile we have the Dwarves and other forces positioned across from us, some Vanguard deployment. But this is really cool. So you can actually get flying troops up here. You could fight close to the building itself. And I've even in a previous battle, whoopsie daisy, I've even in a previous battle been able to send units through this little gap here. So you're literally fighting over the mansion. So this is such a cool freaking map. We have guys up here, Ungor Raiders pre-deployed on this hill with a nice other kind of vampiric mansion over there. I do want to get a shot before we go into normal speed of our massive army coming down the forest here. Oh my god, this is so crazy. And there's a lot more in the forest itself. This is the kind of stuff that I've always wanted to see in Total Warhammer. Forces marching to war in like a theme. This is such a fantasy setting. There is a haunted mansion in the center with armies approaching it from all directions. This is how battles should have always been fought from the very beginning. So I'm very excited for this. So Indy and I have a lot of forces. Indy is going to be Chaos. I am going to be the Beastmen. I have a fair amount of Gore herds, Bestigors, and then Indy has a lot of more elite warriors, Chosen, Chaos Trolls, and whatnot. I have brought most of the kind of numbers to the fight. I have one Gore Bull, and then we have a couple ranged units. So I have a Cygor positioned here, and then up top, as you saw before, I have a couple Ungor Raiders. These are going to be up at the top, and we were just wanted to secure this position. Again, another awesome shot. Secure this position and see the enemy off, because we know this is going to be the real killing fields. We can look down the road. That's the way that the dwarves are going to be coming. And look, this is so cool. The little details, like a wall over on the right. Yeah, and there you go, over in the distance. You see some of the action starting to get underway. Yeah, I love the detail that the map maker has made here. Little walls just to break up the terrain, interesting cliffs and all that. But yeah, this is really cool. And I have my harpies that were pre-deployed up on top of the battle map just so I could get vision on everything. We could see kind of the view that they have guarding their manor here. So freaking cool. Flapping around, so appropriate. And now they're going to come down here and we're going to start scouting around towards the enemy. We did see the Sky Hammer gyrocopter. Let's get a shot of this guy trying to explore the haunted mansion. He does shoot down one of my harpies, but now he's going to try and get out of there as the rest of our forces give chase. 2 harpy units coming after that guy, so he definitely has to get out. Meanwhile, there are some dire wolves and other forces on this flank. This is actually going to be from the combined dwarf vampiric army. They have some Vanguard deployed troops, Terrorgeist and a Sturgoy Ghoul King, and they're positioned over here to try and ward off our forces. A lot of Vanguard deployed troops. I had some hidden in the forest there, not knowing where the enemy would deploy, and then I have some over on the far side over in that position. So we'll see as those engagements get underway. Meanwhile, over here, I've stumbled upon some Rangers. Buckman's Rangers, and again, more details. A building in the background that they're fighting in and amongst. And my harpies tearing into these guys, and I always love to see the attack animations of these guys with their throwing axes, but look at what's coming from behind. Here comes Indy Pride, coming to try and save the day. And so we're trying to knock out these early Vanguard forces, tear through them, but the Sky Hammer has come back, and he's going to be offering support. He's got some very sturdy blades here that are not getting chopped up in the wood. In fact, he's the one kind of chopping through the harpies with his oh my god, okay, he's landing some bombing strikes. But yeah, look at his attack against the harpies. He's getting swarmed a bit. but those blades are probably cutting through our wings. Man, this is not a place to be for a harpy. At the same time, though, our sheer numbers are going to start to chase this guy off. Some of my forces on the ground have broken, but we put in a fair amount of damage against these Bugman Rangers. This is so cool with the, oh my god, so much action taking place here. And you get some spells off, so yeah, this is the early action. On the far flank, I was trying to get around the side and I ran headlong into some enemy forces. So I had some Centaurs and some Chaos Warhounds. So I meant Centaurs are going to be taking the brunt of this assault. They don't do too well against these dire packs. So you'll see most of my guys dying in the engagement. Yeah, they have 3. Now I'm going to get my Chaos Warhounds, or Indy's going to get his Chaos Warhounds to supplement me. But yeah, now we're getting swarmed by 3 of those guys. So the dire pack is cleaning away our flanks, which is pretty good for them because in the center, the dwarves are pushing forward. They've moved up with artillery, with gun lines to the forest. So the dwarves are going to make a slow and steady push towards the vampiric manor in the distance. Oh, I didn't even notice this. Another hidden kind of siege tower position here. So cool. I love the theme of this map. I mean, honestly, it is a bit of random stuff, but I like how there's this orc town next to a vampire area, some walls. It's really, really interesting stuff. It's almost like the battlefield is broken up into different interesting sectors. So dwarves are pushing up. I had massed a ton of my Ungor herds. They came off the hill, and they were here to try and see off the Rangers. And so the Rangers took one look at me and decided to turn about. Now my shots aren't doing too well. We're shooting and we're hitting a lot of the forest. But this is a cool view. It's really dense in the forest, but at the same time you can kind of see through this. And this almost looks like a view straight out of like the Gladiator film with the barbarians in the forest. But yeah, most of my arrows here missing. A couple of them starting to hit. The dwarves are trying to return fire, but not really having a good time of it with the forest giving me covering fire. We've got all of our Ungor herds, Minotaurs, all this swarming up. Let's get a nice shot with the giant manor in the backdrop. So we're definitely swarming through this area, claiming it as ours. We're going to use this wall to protect us from the artillery. And yeah, right now what we're trying to do is hide behind this wall and start to get into position while the rest of our forces slowly inch their way up. We have a Hell Cannon moving forward, and then also tons of Chaos forces. Indy's going to be trying to push very hard on the left where there's this big dominating hill. Maybe use that to swarm down on the Vampire Count force, which is here coming to sandwich our guys. And just the sheer size and the openness of these battle maps makes it so that these Warhammer battles last that much longer and make it that much more strategic and interesting. But yeah, now if we look where Chaos is pushing, there's actually a bunch of Dwarven ruins that I didn't even notice when I was playing the game. That is how awesome this stuff is. The map is so varied, so large that you can fight in different sectors of the battlefield. I can't even imagine playing here butted up against the wall. This is such cool stuff. Man, custom maps are going to be so epic. But here's the Chaos Force getting behind the hill, and obviously we're... Oh my god, look at this! A giant charge from the Vampire Counts, trying to crush through the center towards our Vampire Manor. Oh my god, this is crazy. This is so cinematic. So one Vampire Lord here trying to reclaim his ancestral home, it would seem. 3 Terrorgeists coming after Morgar. I brought him in to raise some Chaos spawns in the mix, but god almighty, look at the sheer chaos happening here. Against this weak zombie line coming out of the forest, rampaging and raging are going to be a bunch. Oh my god, Minotaurs! Oh, this is crazy! Crypt Horrors against Minotaurs. Tons of stuff. Spells getting off as well. I'm going to throw a bunch of forces. Ungor Spearmen into the mix. Chaos Spawn put in here to plug this position. And we're throwing everything into the mix. God, this is freaking crazy. The Claw of Nagash, the Mortis Engine here, trying to buff up the enemy forces. Tons of action getting underway. My Minotaurs have Soul Blight against them, so they're taking a beating. But, man, that was a big stampede charge from the Vampires. I was able to get Morgor back to safety. These Terrorgeists pulled back because of the close support that I had of a Gore Bull and other forces. Indy is now coming around to execute a supporting push with the majority of his Chaos forces and doing a big attack on this flank where we've actually found some Blood Knights. And these guys could be pretty punishing, but I mean, we have Kolek Sun Eater. I can press play here. And yeah, he's not going to be going down without a fight. And Indy has a lot of Dragon Ogre Shaggoths and really a big mobile force of heavy hitting troops with Forsaken. That hits hard, so he's going to rout these Blood Knights immediately. Which is definitely saying something. So this is a heavy hitting hammer that we need to bring around to the back of this engagement. I'm trying to hold it with the bulk of my forces, and now Indy's going to come to reinforce. Meanwhile, the Dwarven push has kind of been centered through here. They've been trying to move into the forest, but not making much progress. The artillery here kind of tentatively moving forward, but we vacated the area, and all we're doing is we're kind of holding back Ungor Raiders to tie this down with some Gore Herdsmen, but the rest of my forces are filtering in towards the center, trying to hit Ultar's Raiders and trying to push to support the middle, where it looks like the big battle is going to come and take place. The enemy is also starting to push around with some of their Dire Pack forces, but even a greater attack is being made by my troops on this flank, where I have my Harpies coming back, and then Gore Herdsmen and a Chaos Warhound. So lots of enveloping maneuvers. There's even a Centaur unit that's come back from routing. So this is sandwich upon sandwich, lots of enveloping positions. So I'm glad the map maker used the entirety of this map. So freaking cool. We didn't even look at my Cygor, which is going to rake up a lot of kills over time. Oops, sorry, getting my camera mixed up. And he's doing a Hail Mary pass over this rock and into a position over here to hit the dwarves. Boom! Hits a smackdown right in the thunders, but this is a ball of fury coming to strike this position. A lot of vampiric forces still alive here, and they still have a good meat of their forces, and that's why we're having to throw all of our infantry. My infantry line has basically been smashed. I have a couple Minotaurs, but they're all down to half health, so I really need this Chaos reinforcing army. Definitely coming in just in the nick of time to tie this force down, keep it from penetrating further. Meanwhile, here comes that heavy hitting hammer I was telling you. Kolek is going to be pushing on this flank, leading the Forsaken. Meanwhile, you have more troops. Look at this. This is freaking awesome. A Dragon Ogre leading a Chaos cavalry charge. Let's watch this from this position. We were just looking through the woods. Oh, it looks like some Dwarven Thanes are pushing forward. So this is going to be a... Oh my god, this is so epic. Look at this hammer and anvil that we're about to get off here on the rear of this force. And there's so much stuff going on in this battle. Apologies that my computer seems to be lagging out a little bit, but this is so much freaking action. And here's where the real craziness happens, is like I said, sandwich upon sandwich. So we sandwich a bit of the vampire counts, they're starting to crumble, but now the entirety of the Dwarven force is going to rush out from the woods. Slayers, Iron Breakers, all kinds of stuff. They're going to start to line up here, and abilities being popped. Oh my god, so much freaking chaos. This shit is ridiculous. 2 Dragon Ogres. We'll see if the dwarves can try and pick them off. We're still at pretty good health, but look at this wave of forces. All sparkling and glittering with buffs getting off. Man, this is going to be hitting us like a hammer. Our Hell Cannon's taking out big chunks of the enemy. And good thing for Indy pulling out with his Dragon Ogres. Oh, shit. Vortex spell getting you off here. Eating through the rear lines of the dwarves. Trying to disrupt the gunners. Oh my god, it's sucking up the whole line. This is like a Dyson vacuum. That was pretty epic. Didn't kill too many, but really cool stuff. But yeah, now the dwarves are crushing forward. Andy's going to start to buckle under the pressure of these elite forces. Yes, he has good troops, but they're not necessarily that numerous. And with some of the vampire higher tier forces here, they're going to start doing a lot of damage. I'm pulling up with my Ungor Raiders, and their main target is to try and see off Grave Guards and other high value units, and in particular try and suppress the Terrorgeist. Some units have come back from routing, so I'm going to throw them in the mix. Man, this is so deadly. My forces that were executing that big push around the flank have kind of gone around the enemy forces, and where I'm going to be headed is the Dwarven main line, the Dwarven rear lines, where I want to come and strike. Oh my god, so much chaos! Where I'm going to try and hit the gunners and other forces, and these guys are currently being covered by, I don't even know what's throwing satchel charges. I don't think they have miners, iron breakers, I guess. But man, they left a crisp of this position. Lightning strike getting off as well. Good god, so much damage. So much fucking damage. But our front lines are starting to crumble. Dwarves are still in very strong numbers. Longbeards at 692. Other forces with very high strength. So that battle is going so-so. And now a Terrorgeist. Oh god, 2 Terrorgeists have found their way into the juicy lines of our archers. And this is not the type of engagement you want to see here. They're going to tear through like a cat thrown in a paper bag. It's going to tear through there really easily. And so I'm going to have to sacrifice one of my guys, pull out of there. I do have Morgor who's in the mix, so he may be able to try and help save the main line. Let's go ahead and watch from this top position where I still have Harpies. Just the sheer craziness that's happening. And I really like the effects on this house, by the way. We didn't mention this, but the tower is glowing as if someone's casting magical spells on the inside. But this, if you were a crazy vampire sorcerer, you'd be up here and you'd be able to look at out your tower and see the amount of chaos that's going on, and just be so gleeful about the amount of dead that you're about to have around your castle and the amount of necromancy that's going to be taking place after this fight. This is crazy. Look at that, all the way down. I feel like I'm a voyeur here. Yeah, this is the viewpoint of a mad vampire count scientist up here. You can watch death and destruction and glee, and they all just look like ants from up here. God, this is so cool. A lot of our forces are routing. Look at this, the vast majority of forces are routing. Chaos has been given a huge beating. If the Chosen are running, that's really bad. This Terrorgeist is continuing to chase our guys, so it looks like we're going to start to lose a bit, but the balance bar is still somewhat in our favor. Troop numbers have been somewhat evened up. The vampires are giving chase, and I really need to come back with some of my other forces. I have a Cygor that's going to be tried to pull a little bit tighter into the mix. He can be used as kind of like a big giant in melee attack if need be, but he still has a couple shots, and so what I'm going to be doing is trying to target blobs of enemy forces, especially Norgrimlings, Ironbreakers. Any elite forces are who I want to be targeting. Let's watch from another perspective of an observer. And I think the enemy is going to start running into a problem where, yeah, they have a lot of good troops, but this heavy elite force is doing so much damage to the dwarves, and they've kind of lost their ability to shoot at them with cannons and gunners from a distance. So that's going to start causing problems. But if they get their heroes, this could be a good fight, and it looks like we're about to get a little bit of an... Oh, shit! Terrorgeist joining the mix, too. Looks like all the heroes are going to try and get in the center. So this is pretty... Oh, and I didn't even notice we're down to like half strength on Kolek. Crypt Horrors realizing that they want to get in on that action, and they're going to come back. Dwarven Thanes in the back. So this may be the end of our hero. We'll have to see. He's getting whittled down pretty significantly. Lots of Dwarven forces. Oh my god, and look at this Dwarven blob in the back that's being taken out by my massive assault through the rear. Bestigor herds, and we're starting to rout the enemy, but myself, I'm also routing. Oh god. Just like I was saying before, dwarves have no chance of taking out our Shaggoths. There goes one. There goes Kolek Sun Eater. Oh god, this could be bad. And Dwarven Slayers are going to complete that surround. So yeah, things are actually turning around quite significantly. Holy crap, this is worse than I expected. Artillery trying to turn the tide, but man, the odds are turning ever more against us. We're trying to rally our guys. I have Morgor in the mix, and he's going to try and summon some more Chaos Spawn to help us out. But at this point, he's kind of getting surrounded. Oh, look at that artillery blast. Hits this blob. And I'm going to try and rally and save my forces, but before I can get there, they rout. So now I'm, yikes, left with almost nothing in the mix. Chaos has broken on this flank, and now we don't really have much left in the way of troops. Good God. Things turned so viciously against us. This is dangerous. I still have one Minotaur with shield force that's running rampant. I'm going to try and hit these Crypt Horrors and other heroes, but Kolek Suneater here, trying to pull through. Look at all these dwarves behind him trying to make a name for themselves as the slayer of Kolek Suneater. All the elite forces trying to chase after him, and he is seen off. He's actually going to tag out with some Dragon Ogre Shagas and 6 Dragon Ogres. So we'll see what happens with these guys tap in, if they can take anything out. Oh my God, he's not even trying, he's walking, and he just flicks a couple dwarfs out of the way. So this Dragon Ogre is going to start to do some damage, it looks like. Actually pulling right through. I think he's trying to go after, yep, one of the blobs to rally our men. Try and knock out this Longbeard unit, but good God. I don't even know how to commentate this anymore. There's so much freaking crazy action going on. The dwarves are actually starting to get whittled rather low on a couple of their units. Had we had maybe a couple more monsters, I think we could have taken them out. But it's really these heroes for the enemy forces that are starting to do a number on us. The Terrorgeist that's flying over doing work. He got a lot of kills against my Ungor Raiders. Early on we saw that. And then finally Morgor the Shadowgrave. He's down in the mix, but if he goes, which it looks like it's pretty likely considering he's fighting against a ton of dudes, and he's taking a beating. He's fighting amongst the Minotaurs and the Dragon Ogres. This is the way for him to go, but this Thane, I think, may get the honor of taking me out. Yeah, so now my hero has routed, and that is going to spell the end for my forces. Morale is pretty much going to collapse along the lines here, and even this Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is routing. He did end up beating back this Thane, so Chaos still having a fight in them yet, but the rest of the forces are now basically still, and this is largely due to, I think, us getting a desync here at the end of the fight, and that's why I was a little curious about some of the outcomes in the battle, but for the most part it was pretty accurate. And yeah, this is where the battle ended up. Wait, what the fuck? Okay, wait, never mind. So actually, I guess this desync was way off compared to what I was thinking. I'm trying to recall how it ended, but I thought we had lost. Perhaps I was wrong, but I think perhaps what happened in reality is this big blob of forces that currently now ended up winning against us. All of these that are currently at a standstill, what that usually means with a desync is if they're not moving, they were actually destroyed in the battle and we're no longer being given orders. So it looks like actually we in the real battle killed most of these forces that are standing still. Apologies for the desync. That's kind of surprising. I hope it doesn't have anything to do with it being a custom map and that causing desyncs. I'll have to investigate more. Admittedly, some of CA's custom maps have been a little bit buggy. Even hosting the games has caused some issues, and I was having some frame rate problems in this map, so perhaps this is all due to some issues with the custom maps. But nonetheless, this was definitely a very epic fight. Definitely check out the Derelict Mansion map. It makes for a very, very fun, fitting theme here, and this, yeah, we didn't fight too much in and around it, but as a backdrop and as the focal point for the battle, it was really, really cool. Let's end the replay and take a look at the quote-unquote Pyrrhic victory, even though technically on screen it did look like we lost. But yeah, really good stuff. I brought the most forces in the entire fight. You can see a lot of my forces here being really cheap Gorkhords that I was just kind of swarming. And they did pretty well for themselves fighting in the forest. They don't get penalties, I think. Well, Beastmen do pretty well in the forest, and that battle was 90% forest. And then you throw in my Minotaurs with 114, 98, 64, the Cygor doing good supporting fire, and even the Chaos Warhound doing a lot of good work. So overall, my army paid for itself pretty handily. The Dwarven force here was way more expensive than me, and not many of them getting that many kills, actually. Hammerers, and okay, admittedly some Iron Breakers. Yeah, only his most veteran troops even cracked, over 80 kills. The rest are really down low, whereas take a look at some of my other forces. Gore Herds vetted up 3 times, got way more kills than those dwarves. But, yeah, at the same time, you have to counteract that with the fact that they were probably fighting against the Chaos forces, so any kill is probably more valuable than the zombies I was killing. I really hope CI does kind of revamp the end menu here and allows us to look at not only the amount of kills but the amount of damage put out over the battle, because that will be a bit more revealing as to who did what in a fight. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. See you in the next one. Peace out.